How do you stay optimistic in a world where it seems like everything is going wrong at all times? How do you have a sunny disposition? How do you keep yourself moving forward despite the things you see around you? That's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. Today I'm going to give you some tips teaching you how to be optimistic. And you know, it's interesting that this is almost something that needs to be taught, because we are a society that is swan diving into nihilism and apathy and sadness and anxiety and depression every single day. In some pockets of the universe, it seems that we're just destined to head in this direction. But I'm here to tell you that there is another way. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to choose the right set of facts, choose the right context for your life, so that you can be successful. These are tips I learned over time from bringing myself to a point in life where I didn't have much reason to be optimistic. I had a dead-end job. I was broke, depressed, hooked on drugs and alcohol, legal trouble, the whole nine. And I saw another way out, and I saw a better path for my future, even though my current circumstances weren't great. And I went on to do all the things that I'm doing right now. I don't want to brag, but I'm living a good life. So let me tell you some of the ways that I developed optimism for myself, and use these for you to be able to do the same in your own life. The first thing that's really important for people to understand is that your past does not predict your future. You would think that just because you spent a certain amount of time doing something, that it is so ingrained and woven into your mind that you have no way out, but this is simply not the case. Every once in a while you see it with people who all of a sudden get the will to start that workout routine, or people who start a business randomly, people who just decide to turn their life around, and even after being in periods of negativity, they decide to still be hopeful and optimistic about the future. And how can you cultivate that in yourself? Like, let's say that maybe you're not even totally down and out, but maybe you're just kind of living a humdrum lifestyle and you're not really optimistic about your prospects for the future. What you need to understand is that all it takes is kind of the initial wave of motivation, just the feeling of hope that things can get better. And if you can slide in there a little bit and put in a little tiny modicum of action and build on that. I always talk about creating feedback loops, right? So you always want to deposit wins into your brain, get momentum, deposit more wins into your brain, get more momentum. So that's where things like self-improvement and kind of inspirational content serves a purpose. So inspirational content is not going to get you to do the things that you need to do in and of itself, but it can paint a picture of a better world. I remember when I used to watch all these motivational videos, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, people like that, and they helped foster optimism because they said things that they sounded like cliches, but deep down you knew they were true. One of the favorite motivational kind of talks I ever listened to was from Jim Rohn, and he talked about this concept of 5 years. This concept of the 5-year rule is something I've adopted, implemented, and learned from him. And I still remember the conversation to this day. Well, not the conversation, I was watching the video. I was in my room folding my laundry, watching this video. And Jim said, 5 years from now, you will arrive. The question is, where? So he talked about a time horizon for kind of transforming your life, your personality, your career, your finances. And that was something that made sense to me because it wasn't immediate. It wasn't like get rich quick. And it also wasn't so far away that it seemed unfeasible. So, eventually after kind of hearing these inspirational messages that made sense to me, I just felt inspired. I felt optimistic about the future, even though, based on the evidence of my life to that point, I didn't have much reason to be. And that's what you need to understand, is that you don't need the evidence for you to feel optimistic right now, because you don't have it. So you need to understand that the person who is going to accomplish all of the things that you want to accomplish is going to be kind of a better, higher, more self-actualized version of you. It's not going to be current you, right? So, you know, a lot of people get stuck in this trap of thinking that just because things have always been a certain way, that it means it has to stay that way, and it's definitely not true. So that is where inspiration comes in. That is where me telling you things like, look, I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the side of the truly lazy, aimless, don't know what you're going to do with your life, completely stuck. And what I'll talk about here in the next section is kind of finding that thing that compels you, is what's going to be most beneficial to you. But with that, you want to cultivate the attitude that there is hope for the future. You know, there's so many times where, you know, I tried and failed at things a ton of times, but even in my worst moments, I never lost hope that life had the ability to get better. So know that regardless of your situation, your life has the ability to get better, and take this next step to take things to the next level. Probably the number one way to build optimism and positivity about your future is you need to start doing things that compel you to feel good and be motivated, right? So how do you do that? It always goes back to finding something that you have a natural talent and strength for. Now, you have several talents and strengths, but there are going to be some that stick out to you more than others. I've talked about the frameworks over and over again. Try little experiments. Try something for 90 days. When I started writing, it wasn't, oh my gosh, I'm going to become this big rock star writer. It was, you know, a friend asked me to write for his website one day. I said, okay, cool. It felt really good to write the first couple articles. Next thing you know, I looked up, I'd been writing for a couple months. And really about a half a year to a year in, I started to get really optimistic about the future. I had never stuck with something for really that sustained of a period in my life. I was good at it, and I was getting better at it relatively quickly. So again, it creates that feedback loop, that mechanism that builds momentum and confidence. And the thing about it is, you're gonna have to remove that initial layer of fear and trepidation, because the thing that you're gonna want to do probably the most is kind of the thing that you're afraid of. Where you're like, that's not really realistic. Should I be doing this? It's kind of weird. You know, so that's how I kind of felt in the beginning. I'm like, oh, I want to be a writer. Oh, okay. Who's a writer? I didn't know anyone who did anything involving writing. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. You know, it felt kind of weird to get into all this weird self-improvement stuff, and I was writing, and I was reading all these books, and I was just kind of living life different than the people around me, but I just stuck with it. And that's what'll happen for you, is you'll go into this kind of alternative lane of life, and it'll feel a little bit overwhelming to start, but it's really mostly in your mind. And that's something I wish that I could tell people, that the initial period really is the hardest. The initial period where you're trying the thing is the hardest. But then once you get over that, it's not smooth sailing, but it's basically kind of a matter of literal time before you get things to work. So you have an idea of the things that you were good at. In the description below, you'll see a checklist that'll show you your talents and strengths. You listen to things that people tell you, feedback that you get from acquaintances, peers. People will tell you what you're good at. Think of the things that you kind of longed to do since you were a young kid or a teenager. You more or less know, but you got to take that hurdle, and it's like, I know I need to take the hurdle, but you know, only so many people become successful. How is it going to be me? How is it going to be me out of all these people when, you know, 98% of people do not live the life that they want to live? That leads me to my next point. At a certain point, to get the real level of optimism, is you just have to make up this decision in your mind that it's just going to be you. You just have to decide that it's going to be you. It's super simple, and it's like, oh, cliche motivational talk, right? But I remember looking back, I would take these online courses about blogging, and in the course they would say things like, you know, only so many people finish the course. And I was like, you know what? It's going to be me. You know, I actually just believed the things I was hearing in the motivational talks that I was getting, in the education that I was getting, in the learning about business and marketing and blogging, I just had this feeling that it was gonna be me. And that's something that maybe I have a little bit more innately than other people. Like, even when my life wasn't good, I always had a feeling that I was meant to do more, and that somehow I was going to be the exception to the rule. If you don't have that naturally, you cultivate it kind of almost by this Socratic reasoning where you kind of question yourself to death, and really think about why you shouldn't be the one who would be the one to pull it off. It's like, what is so special about every other person who has succeeded in a field you want to succeed in? Are 100% of them smarter than you? Are 100% of them better than you? Do 100% of them have more work ethic than you? It's like, why do you have to be on the sidelines of life? Why do you have to be the one watching me on video instead of doing your own thing? Why do you have to be the one who is constantly looking for motivation, who does not become someone who becomes permanently motivated? Why can't that be you? I've made that transition in my life, and it just came down to it. Part of it was I got fed up with the way I was living. I was like, you know what? Most people make the mistake when their lives are not turning out the way that they want. They veer into nihilism, and apathy and giving up, which makes no sense to me, because if your life sucks, why would you want it to continue to suck? And it's really weird because, people will maintain bad lives simply to maintain their self-image, to maintain their ego. Even if it's not a good life, it's better in most people's minds to kind of make sense and rationalize the way that they're living than to simply stop living in a way that is not good. So for me, I'm always was looking for the upside, and I just decided at a certain point, like, why not? Why the hell not? I see people who have done it before. They don't seem superhuman. I can do it as well. And look, you know what I say about self-improvement. Becoming successful, using the kind of tenets and principles of self-improvement is really a matter of taking all the cliches and embracing them. When I started the same way as everyone else. 0 followers, 0 readers, 0 connections, 0 knowledge of the online business world, nothing. And, it looked like a pipe dream, but I kind of have an affinity for pipe dreams. I always make this joke that I avoid casinos because I always think I'm going to win. I'm the one who keeps rolling the dice, keeps betting. And the way I look at it, YOLO, you only get one life, another cliche, but embrace it. You only get one life. Most people, die with regrets over their inactions, and you might as well go for it. And I know all this stuff sounds simple, which is why I create video after video after video to try to really get the concepts into your head. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and actually I'll link to another video where I talked about this more in depth, is choosing which set of facts about the world that you want to believe in. So in this other video, I talked about the idea of 2 movies on the same screen, which is something I learned from Scott Adams, who is the cartoonist behind Dilbert, and he's also kind of a renowned persuasion and marketing expert too. And he talks about the fact that, 2 different audiences with different beliefs could be watching the same exact movie, but when they come out of the movie and you ask people of different beliefs what they saw, and what they would describe to you would appear to be not just different accounts of the same movie, but entirely different films altogether. This is what you need to understand about the world. People live in parallel realities. This is why the discourse between people of different ideologies is so messed up. They're not having disagreements. They live in different universes, and they live by a different set of facts, rules, laws, governance, all of that, right? This is why facts really in and of themselves don't matter all that much. It's how you interpret the way you see the world. So, there is a side of the world where, upward mobility is low, wages are flat, minimum wage hasn't increased in like 50 years, college tuition is skyrocketing, healthcare is a mess, and in the employment realm where you're waiting for the man to help you, yes, there's a very pessimistic view of society. But on the optimist side, you have self-directed education, online business, businesses with low to almost no capital requirements, infinite amounts of intelligence and knowledge with the internet, infinite amounts of the ability to connect with people on social media. I mean, you're watching me on YouTube right now, right? So the world is going to continue to split apart, not just in terms of wealth inequality, but there's going to be an inequality between pessimists, nihilists, and the apathetic, and kind of the optimistic, self-educated, self-directed, kind of free, sovereign, wealth building, internet savvy type of people. And you have to join our side if you want to come out kind of on the right side of history. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I'm saying that. Be an optimist. It's an act of rebellion in 2020 and beyond to just be an optimist and be positive and be happy and focus on the things you can control and maintain your sanity, even though things are spinning out of control in certain places of the world, to avoid the negative, outraged narratives of the media, and to focus on improving your mindset, improving your skills, your discipline, your competence, and then also sharing with other people who have like-minded beliefs, and kind of letting the negative people, they can come around when they can, or, most likely they won't, so you have to let them go. So these are just a few lessons on how to be optimistic. I hope these were helpful to you, and I really hope that you use, the remainder of the year, the decade, the rest of your life wisely, focusing on the upside and avoiding the downsides where you can. Okay, the next thing you want to do is check out my book, Real Help: An Honest Guide to Self-Improvement. This is going to give you the cold, hard facts about the world that will maybe give you a little bit of that tough love at first, but it'll help you be optimistic and hopeful about your future. So grab that. Even if you are not someone who likes to read and you're an auditory learner, you can grab the audiobook version to get this knowledge downloaded directly to your brain. The next thing I want you to do is look down in the description below, and you are going to see a free checklist that is going to teach you how to find profitable skills that you can use to build a business. Just check the link below and you will see that, enter your email, and it'll come into your inbox immediately. Lastly, make sure to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment with your 2 cents. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you get brand new videos when they come out. You should be seeing a couple videos popping up in front of your face right now. Please go check out those, and I will see you on the next video.